Our next speaker is someone that I've had the privilege to get to know over the last few years. He ran at the age of 18 for a seat on the Manitowoc Common Council. After that, he was elected council president. He was elected mayor of Manitowoc in 2009, becoming one of the youngest full-time mayors in America. He won that election by 22 votes. He's now the ripe old age of 26. But he has worked across the aisle to find bipartisan solutions to problems, winning kudos for showing his commitment to debt reduction. He willingly lowered his own salary in order to help balance the books and keep public employees on the rolls. Justin's strong work ethic and ability to find common sense solutions to problems has turned heads in Manitowoc for years, and I personally think this is someone who is going to be turning heads either in the state capitol in Madison or in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Please welcome the mayor of Manitowoc, Justin Nickels.
So very much. I appreciate the kind welcome here today. I want to thank the Democratic Party for inviting me here to speak to you, and to Chairman Tate, fellow Democrats, delegates, and as I like to say, friends. How many of you in the room are under 30? Looks like the hospitality suites were good to a few of them last night. Well, the speech is for everyone.
There were more under 30 here.
There were more under 30 last night, absolutely. My name is Justin Nickels. I'm the mayor of the city of Manitowoc. If you're not familiar with Manitowoc, we are a typical Midwestern city. We're nestled on the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan. Like many of the communities throughout our state and throughout our country, Manitowoc was devastated by the effects of globalization, jobs going overseas, losing many good-paying jobs in our community. In fact, one of our major companies left in 2003 and took with it thousands of well-paying jobs, the Miro Corporation. It wasn't too long ago when we were all afraid of losing our jobs to lower-wage countries and to lower-wage states. Sadly, we are becoming one of those lower-wage states. While Manitowoc's economy was marginally rebounding after 2003 and those major job losses, we were still feeling the devastating effects in 2008 when the national economy tanked. As for myself, I've been a card-carrying member of the Democratic Party since I was 9 years old. I don't think the party recognized me as a delegate, but nonetheless, they were very happy to take my membership dues. My first campaign was that same year in 1996 to re-elect President Bill Clinton. I learned well at a young age. I was elected to the Manitowoc City Council, as Mike said, at the age of 18. I was a senior in high school. I beat a 16-year incumbent, and I did what we as Democrats do best. Grassroots efforts. I went door to door. I told the people why I was running. I brought my friends out. They were going door to door for me. Of course, we were in high school, so we had to do it after school. But I went door to door, and I told them why I was running. And I was running for one sole purpose: our collective future. Young and old, our collective future. And that's what we as Democrats do best. After 2 terms on the city council and numerous votes against massive debt increases, I decided to run for mayor in 2009 to become only the 3rd mayor in the city of Manitowoc in almost 40 years. It's 17 votes I won by.
But you were 22.
But I was 22.
20, that's what I screwed up.
17 votes in that election I only won by after a vigorous recount. That same year, 2 weeks before the election, we lost one of our major employers again, and Manitowoc saw a 14.5% unemployment rate, one of the highest in the state, and by far one of the highest Manitowoc has ever seen. Now, I'm proud to tell you, though, that a few months ago, the citizens re-elected me with 84% against a Republican businessman. And after 4 years of hard work, investing in our community, prioritizing our needs, Manitowoc's unemployment rate is down to 8% because of our hard work and because of our businesses. Now, I feel that Manitowoc can be put forth as the face of the middle class. It fits every demographic. We're a blue-collar community. We were devastated by the effects, as I mentioned. We had massive deficits in the city coffers, and the city rallied behind a Democratic leader. And that is the story we want to share for every community. However, there's one bit of information I left out that's very important and which gets to the core of us Democrats and some of the problems we face. In 2010, Governor Walker won Manitowoc with 60% of the vote. In 2012, in the recall, he actually increased to 64%, 1 year before I won with 84%. How can this be? How can the same constituency overwhelmingly elect two executives who have opposing principles and beliefs on government? Well, when given the choice between two sides shouting at each other, the voters usually go with the side that shouts the loudest, and unfortunately, sometimes we see that to be the Republican Party, and today is a prime example. But when given the choice between picking somebody who shouts loud and picking somebody who works hard, they will always pick the one who works the hardest. And we as Democrats rally behind those wonderful candidates. We have to be the party that works harder. We have to be the party that organizes our grassroots efforts on city council seats, no matter what age you are, for mayor seats, for state assembly, state senate, and all the way above. Now, you won't see, or you did see, a perfect example of this in the last election when we wonderfully elected Senator Tammy Baldwin against somebody who shouted pretty loud, didn't he? She worked hard. That's what wins elections, not big money from the Koch brothers. You, each and every one of you. At my very core, I believe in our democratic values. I've been committed to providing my citizens a higher level of public discourse than we see sometimes in politics in Madison and in Washington. Because at the core of our democratic values is one value in particular that provides the foundation for which all our other values are built on: compassion. We are the party of compassion. Is there room for reform? Of course there's room for reform. We can always find ways to reduce waste in government. I did it in my budget. We can find ways to make these programs more effective and efficient. I know we can if we're willing to work hard. That is the language of reform. Reform is about fixing what is broken, not abandoning it. The current plan for education in the state doesn't come close to reforming a thing. Driving down teacher wages, increasing class sizes, reducing shared revenue to local school districts in support of voucher programs and unaccountable charter schools, that doesn't right the ship, it abandons it. That is what it does. We are known across the country as a leader in education. A leader is like a captain of a boat. Captains aren't supposed to jump ship if there's a hole in the boat. They fix the hole. As I've said along my campaign trails, I believe my best trait is that I listen first and I act second. Again, we are the party of compassion. And we cannot be compassionate if we do not first listen. I can't win 84% of the vote if I don't win the support of independents and Republicans and reach across the aisle, if I dismiss every idea they have or just want to dismiss every idea to further my political agenda. As I've listened to my citizens as mayor, I've learned that despite our differences, we can come to some common ground. We do have certain goals, especially at the local level. We want to see our communities succeed. The problems we face in our communities, in our state, and our nation don't belong just to Democrats or Republicans. Rather, they are problems that we must face together. Whether those problems be fixing a pothole, providing health insurance to someone who has a pre-existing condition, a veteran returning home from work or home and can't find work or a job, or a lifelong union member who all of a sudden has their rights denied to collectively bargain. These problems don't belong solely to the individual by themselves, but also their children, their spouses, and our communities as a whole. As a mayor, and you'll hear from a very good friend of mine, Mayor John Dickert, probably the same thing. We understand the inherent value of finding smart, effective solutions to problems, not solely out of just compassion for one, but out of a desire for a strong, healthy, and safe community. That's what we do. We Democrats look at the value of every tax dollar rather than just the tax dollar that only benefits ourselves, like some people on the other side do. This nation, thanks to groups like the Tea Party, is placing a price tag on everything and the value on nothing. Government exists to provide that which the private sector can't or won't. As mayor, I use their language to try and convince them of the virtue of democratic ideals. We talk about reinvestment, return on investment, when we talk about increasing quality of life for all of our citizens. We talk about all the virtues of small government in a sense of effectively and efficiently providing the services we desire. We put a value on every tax dollar, whether it personally benefits us or not. When talking about this, I always try to make it personal so people can understand better. I use an example of public transportation. Now, I'm someone who doesn't necessarily need public transportation because I have the means to own my own vehicle and go to and from wherever I need to go. So if I was someone who placed a price tag on everything and the value of nothing, I'd probably say we don't need public transportation because it doesn't affect me. But ladies and gentlemen, I live in the real world. I know there are people who are less fortunate than I am. I know there are people who rely on public transportation to get to and from work. Our businesses rely on that public transportation. To get groceries, our grocers rely on that public transportation, medication, or just to visit family. And I understand the value that they provide to our communities and our economy. Are we supposed to neglect them so they can't afford, because they can't afford to get where they need to go? I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a society like that. I am more than willing to pay my fair share in taxes so everyone has an opportunity no matter what their lot is in life. This is how we build a community, by valuing every individual. We can no longer try to beat the Republican Party at its own game. Let them shout. That's what they're good at doing. If we're going to be true to this value of compassion, and I believe as a party our success is dependent upon it, then we must, I repeat, we must extend that compassion to our political rivals. We cannot continue to just go to the lowest common denominator. If I'm going to shout down anyone, or you, it must be our own demons in defense of our better angels. We Democrats have a pretty tough job compared to Republicans. Republicans can shout at the wind and tell us it's the overpaid public employees, it's the supposed high taxes that are the problems. And in a tough economy, sometimes that's all they need to garner widespread support. It's easy to paint a picture to the American voter to say, if we cut government, we can cut your taxes, and the economy will grow. It's pretty easy to say, huh? And it sounds rosy. Sounds good. I like it. Well, that's not how it works. Us Democrats have a much more difficult job when we go to the voters. We are forced to put a value on our principles. We are forced to justify statements like, if you invest in education today, we will have a stronger, more educated workforce tomorrow, even though tomorrow is unknown. That's much more difficult to explain to the American voters than, I'm going to cut your taxes. Especially when we live in a world that only cares about what happens to me today. I find it amusing that some of the radical groups in the country are telling us Democrats we need to read the Constitution. While they are living in a world that is focused on only what benefits me, us Democrats are living in a world that is focused on we, the people. We take care of our own. We fight for the best education. We are the ones who are more concerned about tomorrow than we are about today. I'm proud to be a Democrat. I like to consider myself, as young as I am, to be an old school Jack Kennedy Democrat. My history teacher's in the back of the room. He taught me about JFK. Let's balance our budget and still provide quality services to our citizens. It's not impossible. We do it in cities every day. Or like Bobby Kennedy, let's be tough on the criminals or those who abuse the system, but not forget that we are a society that doesn't care about the color of your skin or who you love, and fight for equal pay for women and just basic human rights. My mother has been a nurse her entire life. She taught me one very valuable lesson that I take with me, that I will take with me till the day I die. And it is, first and foremost, no matter what, always help those, first and foremost, who are less fortunate than you are. That's why I ran for office. That's why I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat because of my grandpa Hein, who was a World War II veteran serving in Okinawa. Served as a union president at the foundry he worked at for 40 years, never complained, but his only retirement was his meager savings and Social Security, with barely enough money to pay for his own funeral and the continued costs of my grandma, who is still with us today. I'm a Democrat because of my grandpa Nickels, who was also a World War II veteran, was a firefighter for the city of Manitowoc for 38 years. I know what you're thinking. I grew up with all these union thugs, huh? I must not have turned out good enough. But he had to support a family of his wife and 7 children. Guess what? He never complained about paying his school taxes because he knew that he benefited from that education, his kids benefited from that education, his grandkids benefited from that education, and guess what? It's a good thing that his neighbor benefited from that education too, so we have a great society to live in. That's the value of taxes, and that's what we have to get across to the American voters. It's not easy. We can be successful for and pursuit of progress if we commit to being pragmatic idealists. We're working on this in Manitowoc, and even President Obama recognized it. In 2011, after his State of the Union address, he came and visited Manitowoc at one of our local businesses. He told the world what we are doing in Manitowoc, and it's that idealism he instilled in us. He said, "To those who believe that America's best days are behind us, let them come here, to Manitowoc. Let them come to this once shuttered factory that is now bustling with workers building new technologies for the world. Let them come here to see the incredible promise of our country. This is the future, and it is bright." My fellow Democrats, the days ahead for us are bright because we are going to work harder, we're going to work stronger, and together we can ensure our tomorrow is brighter than our yesterday. As if you heard the introduction, as Bob Dylan would say, may God bless and keep you always, may your wishes all come true, and may you always do for others and have others do for you, and may you stay forever young. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.